So I'm Jeff Feinman, that's Dr. Christina Chambreau, and these are the Holistic Actions now monthly Q&A webinars where we help support you all using the pillars of the mind, body, and spirit of our pets, so helping us to connect more with spirituality, energy, and getting them better so they can have their best lives possible. And Dr. Christina has a couple things to say. Dr.
Myself.
Christina.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted. So this is a place that you can invite your friends to come to, because this is open to non-members as well as members. So it's a great place to, when you're sharing on Facebook or anywhere else, when you get the announcement from Dr. Jeff to share here. I'm going to be repeating this several times because people keep adding in, but just a reminder that for raising your hand, if you click on reactions at the bottom, click on reactions wherever it is on your device, and then click on raise hand like Dr. Jeff just did, then your hand will go up and I can go, Dr. Jeff, do you have something to say? So you can either, and if you are posting in the chat and I haven't gotten to it, or any of us haven't gotten to it, then post again, because sometimes so many people post so fast that it sort of gets dropped a little bit. So we have and D is from Vancouver, BC. I was just talking to somebody from DC. So Jean, you have a question? Go ahead. Love your abbreviations there. So you can unmute yourself, Jean.
Yes, my questions are very long.
I'd be wanting to consider it.
Can you shorten it?
Yeah. I mean, I know you're tired, my friend.
Well, I'll just ask.
I'd be wanting to consider going.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Dr. Jeff, actually, everybody else should be muted.
Okay. What are the best herbal or homeopathic remedies for treating a respiratory allergy in dogs? That's question A. And B, respiratory infections in dogs. And I have a whole explanation along with that.
Okay, no explanation needed, because, and some of what I say you may have already tried, the key thing here for everybody with all the problems, and the key to having a long, healthy life for your animals, is to not be focused on a problem, respiratory allergy or respiratory infection, but rather focus on rebalancing the underlying energy field.
Gotcha.
So when an energy field is out of balance and is triggered by something, stress, bacteria, virus, then it will produce symptoms that conventionally we may label as a respiratory infection or a respiratory allergy. It simply means these are symptoms saying that the vital force, the energy field, is out of balance. So in terms of homeopathy, if it's an acute problem where a dog has just started sneezing and you can individualize the symptoms, you might try with multiple different remedies. You could try like aconite if there's fearfulness, if it's a brand new becoming of the symptoms. Aconite is for early on challenges. And the same thing, whether you know it's an infection or an allergy, you would treat the symptoms that way. Now, that's just a temporary fix. In order to prevent it from recurring, you want to be building the vitality and the health by following all the things we talk about in the Holistic Health 101 course, which is free for everyone to take at Holistic Actions.
I'm doing that.
And there are 5 lessons there. So it's about improving health, improving diet, exercise, things like that. In terms of herbs that temporarily you could use when you need, you could use things like golden seal, or I'm drawing a blank on the herbs. Dr. Jeff?
I added a link in the chat for the Pet Health and Nutrition Center Respiratory Tonic. Got all the herbs in it that you will need.
I've tried that, but it didn't work. And I've got them now on respiratory colloidal silver and a different brand of a respiratory tonic. and they're doing all the immune support and
Great.
So at that point,
probiotics and raw.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. When you've been trying, so this happens a lot where I've tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this. That's the point where you need to be consulting with a professional who is working to rebalance the energy field deeply. And that could be a homeopathic veterinarian, even one who's working virtually with you, or it could be somebody who's doing excellent Chinese veterinary medicine.
Okay, that's what I need. Yes.
Yep, that's your next step.
If you have any recommendations, could you? If
you go to another free article, holisticactions.com/select. That's for everybody. If you want to find any type of a holistic vet, please read the whole article and you'll understand why it's so challenging. And you have to go to all these different websites. It's not just one website or one recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kate, go ahead.
Kate, is that who you called on?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I am here with my small friend Johnny, who is about 15 or 16, and he has a happy life, but definitely is having age-related decline. I have him on homemade food, and I have him on a supplement for his heart from Standard Process and Cosequin. I'm just wondering if there's anything that might help him be more clear, for example, about where he's supposed to go to the bathroom. And because what happens now is he used to always go out immediately as soon as I would take him out. And now I can take him out and walk him around for 10 or 15 minutes, and then he comes in and pees. And I know this,
Kate, that is often, as animals are aging, or sometimes even with young animals, this will come up with inappropriate voiding. One of the things that you can do is to work with an animal intuitive or an animal communicator. And you may have to talk to one or more to hone in on what's going on. But also be very careful with your observations about maybe if you do this first or that first, then it seems to work better. And I would recommend for any older animal, actually, here's the thing, guys, I recommend right now, regardless of the health of your animals, that you become a client of a really great holistic veterinarian. So go to the 101 course, it's free. And the last lesson will talk about creating a healthcare team. And then the article gives you how to find a veterinarian, because that will make a huge difference. And so I would definitely go there, Kate. I mean, I know animals that were showing a lot of dementia and particularly problems with voiding, and they went to an osteopath, and the osteopath rebalanced the fascial system, and all of a sudden they were back to doing totally normal. Wow. So you never know what it is that's going to work. So that's one of our challenges when you try. Sometimes you have to try one thing after another.
Sure.
That was great, Kate. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much. This is a wonderful resource. I so appreciate it.
You are welcome.
Thank you, Kate. And before you go on, I just want to stress, Dr. Christina, in this situation, especially the importance, Kate, of persistence and perseverance. So just keep going, because 15, 16, 18, when they're alive, they can still get better. So
absolutely.
Keep trying different things the way Dr. Christina.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. He has a lot of vitality. So
and that's actually the real key, is focusing on what we call at Holistic Actions, BEAM: behavior, energy, appetite, and mood. If that's going well, then you are definitely on the right, you're doing really well. And of course, a lot of times animals develop problems in any different organ system, like renal or thyroid values was being asked. And again, you need to get back to the energy field imbalance. And if the symptoms are fairly serious, you need to be working with a holistic vet. Otherwise, on Holistic Actions, we have many, many speakers who've talked about different renal supplements that you can be using, like Standard Process, feline renal or canine renal. And then you have to figure out, sometimes the renal came first or the thyroid came first, because renal can follow thyroid problems often. So sometimes that does need more of a professional to be working on. Your job is to be focusing on the quality of life, the happiness, the joyfulness, the fun, training, mental and physical stimulation, things like that. So that's really key. Nita, go ahead.
I have a quick diet related question. I have a 15-month-old dog puppy that I had started on raw, and then she went into heat. And shortly after that, she has decided that she does not like raw meat anymore. Doesn't like the texture, the smell. I'm not sure what it is. And I have quite a bit of meat product that's an 80-20 with 10% bone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bone dust.
Mm-hmm.
Can I cook that?
You can, but what I would do first, especially since you mentioned texture and you may be tuning in, doing an animal communication on your own, which is wonderful, is lightly cook it just to get the outside texture to change, especially if it's big hunks. And the other thing for everybody about diet is there is no one right answer. From a Chinese medicine perspective, they often cook meat for certain types and certain conditions. And some animals just like their meat cooked better. And especially if you're lightly cooking it, it's fine. Anything fresh is going to be better than anything processed. But as long as it's meat dust, that's not going to be a problem at all.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome.
Perfect.
And Alice asked about a 15-year-old cat that she is having problems in her mouth with her teeth. And you wanted to contact, yes, absolutely, homeopathic medicines can help with cancer. As can, if you go to, and Dr. Jeff will put this in, if you go to Dr. Bingston's approach, which is called cycling, and there's a book, The Energy Cure by Bill Bingston. And he's done a lot of research, and a number of people are using this with animals with cancer very successfully, in addition to whatever other approaches that you're doing. And Dr. Loops is certainly one homeopathic veterinarian who sort of focuses on cancer, but many of the homeopathic veterinarians are excellent in treating cancer. So again, check out that article, holisticactions.com/select. And the other thing is, try, if you can, to avoid long-acting steroid injections like Depomedrol, and maybe go with shorter acting if possible. Dr. Jeff, you agree with that?
Just why are we talking about long-acting steroids and dentistry and oral problems at the same time? Because the steroid is being used to shrink the tumor in the mouth?
I don't know. It could be.
So this is Alice. So what happened was, he thought that she had a carnassial granuloma caused by tartar on the carnassial tooth. And so he said that, she needed a dental. So actually he took out that tooth. And then she had 4 other neck lesions, which she never had before. So they took those teeth out, and he thought the granuloma would clear out, on its own after the dental. But then her face was swelling, and I thought, oh, it's the sutures. No. So there's a lump. So he doesn't really know what's going on, but he didn't want to do a biopsy and put her through a biopsy.
So it wasn't biopsied when your kitty was under was?
No, there was no sign of it. I said, because it was 2 weeks later. I'm like, you didn't see any sign of a tumor? And he said, no.
That can happen. Okay. They can come up sometimes. Sometimes in response to stopping one symptom, the body, in trying to go back to homeostasis, will produce new symptoms. I would definitely start working with a homeopathic veterinarian ASAP.
Well, I am, but
so you're already working with Dr. Loops?
She happens to be ill. No, but she suggested calling Dr. Loops also.
Okay, who is your veterinarian? That's
Chris Barrett.
I'm sorry, who?
Chris Barrett.
Oh, okay. So definitely I would give Dr. Loops a call, but also go to our article on finding a holistic veterinarian, and you can go in there to find some other homeopathic vets to see who can work with you the soonest.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
And And if you are, and then in terms of teeth in general for everybody, it's really important a lot of people are switching to a fresh food diet that's ground, and fresh food is better. But
You won't eat fresh food now.
Well, keep working on it.
Okay.
And so it's very important. And again, this is in general, Alice, this does not
okay.
apply to you right now.
Right. Okay.
Feed the biggest chunks that your animal will eat, because you want them to sink their teeth into it. You want them to, that cleans their teeth, and it exercises their molars, and it keeps their teeth strong in their gums. So that is an important thing. And then so sometimes you need to work with a veterinarian who can help you with the nutrition. Sue Howell at thrivevet.com, Dr. Jeff, if you can put that in, can help you with things that are allergic, or even helping you fine tune your diet. And she does remote nutritional response testing, NRT. But definitely, Alice, head for a homeopathic vet. You're going in the right direction there for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Christine.
Hi. Oh, wait. Oh, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Oh, okay, good. I just have a quick question. We got Suki a few months ago, and I've talked to Dr. Jeff online about her a couple times, I think. This is kind of strange. She's an indoor cat. It's the first time I've had an indoor cat. So when I had indoor-outdoor cats, I did give them the flea treatments, and then I didn't worry about it. We're not giving any to her, and I found a flea on her the other day, and I've been brushing her like crazy and cannot find another one. There's no flea dirt. There's nothing. What do you recommend for just like prevention? And is it possible that there was only one?
So it is absolutely possible. They could have hitchhiked a ride in on you.
Okay.
And so one thing to do is there's a product called Flea Destroyers, which is currently my best recommendation for nematodes, little microscopic bugs that eat fleas in your yard. So, and it's also good to rebuild the soil of your yard in general. So spray your yard with the nematodes and you'll be less likely to bring in a flea.
Okay.
And then it sounds like you're a Holistic Actions member.
Yes.
Then you can download my book, The Flea Free Forever, and learn a whole lot about fleas. And that's available for non-members as a Kindle book on Amazon. And it doesn't have flea destroyers in it because that's new. Haven't edited it yet. But don't worry about anything yet. And make sure when you say you're brushing that you're using a flea comb.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's a flea brush. It's like got little metal.
Okay, little metal. Yeah, that's good. It has to be tight enough to be able to pick up the flea dirt for you and the flea. But you're doing fine. Keep on fresh diet and all of that. And when they're going outdoors, they don't need chemical flea products either. And I want to let you know that we have somebody very special with us, one of our faculty members who's not usually here, but Donna is with us. And she's particularly great with animals who are transitioning. And I saw, it looked like she raised her hand there. Did you have something to add to that?
You know what, I'm so embarrassed, but I'm so terrible that I don't know how to do this. So I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I did have something to ask. My 11-year-old Havanese has a subluxated patella, and I went to the vet because she was obviously in pain, and I was told to keep her off her feet for 2 weeks. But I got confused about whether it was put back into the socket or whatever it is at her knee, or whether it's still out, or whether I'm supposed to go back. I'm very confused about. She's lifting her hind leg.
So here's the thing about luxating patellas. Luxating patellas is where the kneecap, there's a trough that the kneecap fits into and slides back and forth. And if the trough isn't quite big enough, which often happens in small breed dogs, but can happen with any, the kneecap will get stuck on the outside, or it'll just go in and out. And homeopathy is a great way to resolve that, as is chiropractic and muscle rehab type of problems. And you live right near Dr. Jeff, so bring your dog by.
I do, but
he'll tell you. So he'll tell you.
I do. And he's a very busy man.
So if you have, but that's why you have everybody. That's why you have a holistic vet on call. That's a
Right.
perfect example. Don't hesitate to reach out to your holistic veterinarian, especially if they're virtual. I mean, virtual or not virtual, but even if they're
Right.
virtual,
Mhm.
after you've been to your local vet, when you have questions, it's certainly
Does she
important.
have to stay off her feet for 2 weeks, which was
No,
basically
No,
okay, great.
I
Great,
would not
great.
usually recommend that with a luxating patella.
Okay, thank you so much.
And keep checking in with her, see what else she needs. So Dama
Yes.
can speak with your animals. And sometimes it's hard for animal communicators to talk with their own. So they have to contact a friend of theirs to talk with their animals.
Dr. Christina, that isn't what I do.
Yeah,
That is-
thank you,
Oh, okay.
Dama, for correcting her.
Oh, okay. So you don't, I
I-
thought you did both. Ah,
No,
okay.
I don't. I do.
Good.
I work with people who are grieving or who have lost an animal or are about to lose an animal, but I'm not an animal
So
communicator. I
you
wish
don't
I
pick
were.
up from there. Ah, well,
No.
then you can learn that one.
Yes, exactly.
I do recommend. So Ahmed is on our faculty, and people who are members can have a 15-minute consult with Dr. Jeff or myself or Dama. And so with Dama, it would be for you if you're having trouble, even 2, 3, 5 years later after one of your animals has passed. There's no time limit on that. Sometimes we have a little piece of us that gets stuck, and sometimes it's our other animals, but you're working more, and then we sometimes pick up on what's happening with the other animals, and so that makes us challenged. So she's able to help you with that. So definitely, as a member, if that's an issue, check in with her.
Great.
Okay, Morgan, you've been very patient.
Hi, good afternoon. I wanted to talk about fleas a little more if we could, Dr. Christina. I actually just moved to Florida from Oregon. I'm in Brevard County where you are. I'm up in Mims. I've got 14 acres. And in Oregon, I didn't have to worry about ticks, fleas, mosquitoes, things like that. So now I'm kind of at a loss as a what to do for my dog. We have fleas here. I found your flea-free PDF. I've got the flower essences. I bathe her. She's on a natural organic diet. We've done the nematodes. None of it seems to be helping. Like I said, I am on 14 acres. So, it was kind of hard. We did the nematodes just around the main area of the house, hoping that would help. I'm only combing maybe 2 to 3 off of her every day. I comb her twice a day, bathe her once a week. Can I put diatomaceous earth on her?
Sure. That's in the PDF as one of the things you can do. The other thing is having fleas is a clue that the vital force is not completely balanced. At that point, you need to be working with energy methods that you can learn yourself, like Reiki, quantum touch, theta touch, Eden energy method, all of these, EFT. And I highly recommend, if you can type this in, Dr. Jeff, a book called Kinship with All Life by J. Allen Boone. He talks about shifting your mental thinking so that you absolutely love anybody you've been considering a pest. And because what you think is what you attract. And I would, because of fire ants, I would strongly encourage you to continue using the flea destroyer at least once a year. And if you see an actual fire ant mound, make up a concentrated solution and pour it right on the fire ant mound, or use diatomaceous earth and or use, I'm drawing a blank, it's a little grain, grits. Dry grits on it. So those are all possibilities for fire ants.
Yeah, we did not have ants in Oregon either.
I know.
Florida has a whole new level of bugs and pests.
It is. You might want to email me and we can chat about Florida.
Perfect. If you want a quick talk about HeartGuard too, and what your advice is on that and heartworms and stuff.
So for heartworms, for everybody, again, for everything we talk about, I want to reiterate that there is no one right answer. Everybody and every individual has to make their own decisions, test it out, see if it's helping or not, and then move on to the next one if that hasn't been helping. So with heartworms, my recommendation is in areas where it gets cold in the winter is to wait until it's been warm for up to 3 weeks and then do your heartworm test and then do your heartworm preventative if you're going to use one at all once a month. I'm sorry, every 2 months instead of once a month. So you're only giving about 3 doses a year. Some people don't do any heartworm prevention at all because it's not really prevention, it's a morning after pill. And we have articles on our site. My website, ChristinaChambreau.com, has a whole article on heartworms. And what the heartworm medicine does is it stops the migrating larvae that are already there. And so you want to, the body, when it's healthy, is going to stop it on its own. And if you're not using the preventative, you should heartworm test twice a year just to be on the safe side. What the preventative does is it stops the adults from happening. So again, you need to do a little more reading, a little more research, and make up your mind on that because it is different for sure.
Great. Thank
Dr.
you so
Jeff,
much.
Any comment on that? Looked like you wanted to say something.
Nope. Just trying to watch the chat.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I'll connect with you since we're so close to each other too. That would be great.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Louise?
Hello.
There you go.
I just have a question. I know I need to speak further to Dr. Feinman, but I need to know what to do with my dog right now. Occasionally, she licks the rug over and over and over and over and almost breaks down the door to get outside to eat grass and then throws up very long, huge fur balls. And the holistic remedy that I have been giving her has not worked this time. And I don't know if I should take her to the emergency clinic right now or what, but she's been eating grass outside for about an hour. It's like as if she's gone crazy.
So a couple of things. Do you have an appointment already scheduled with Dr. Jeff as a client?
No, but I know I've been bad about not making it and I need to make one, but I'm going to try to get in next week, but I need to know what to do with her now because it's as if she's gone crazy.
Well, there are a couple of things. One is distraction. If she's doing this right now.
Nothing distracts her, nothing.
Well, yeah, Max, if she's on a walk, she can't be licking your carpet. If she's playing with a food Kong, she can't be licking your carpet. So there are lots of things you can do to distract. It's not something the emergency room is going to help you with unless she completely blocks up. And so definitely experiment with, have you been feeding the same food forever or do you feed a variety?
A large variety of food, mainly raw.
Great. Okay, well, keep adding in different.
Yeah, but this week the Ruta has not helped her. It's usually when she's overly nervous or picks up any sort of stress in the house, and she's been outside like 3 or 4 times this week. It started up again.
That's a perfect example for everybody. What we think and how we feel, that they have done studies that show how much it impacts everybody around us. So what had popped into my mind, even before you said that, was flower essences, Rescue Remedy, and other anti-stress, like Stress Stopper from JacksonGalaxy.com.
Okay, yeah.
So you could do that immediately, doing Reiki, calling an animal communicator. These are all things you can do before you have your homeopathic appointment.
Okay, I've tried a few of those, but is there anything else I could do? She's like going crazy outside eating grass. Like
that's about
berserk.
I understand that it's very, very challenging for you, but that's my best suggestion for now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Louise, get her in the car. Start taking her to the ER. See if she's still doing it when you get there.
Well, there's nothing to lick in the car.
Oh, there you go. Now, so there's what you do.
It's
Take
gonna
her
break
for
the
long
cycle.
rides. Take her for long car rides.
Right, I've been doing that, yeah. But this week, nothing has helped. Nothing's helped.
As an ER vet, as an old ER vet, I cannot tell you how many times somebody's given me the story that you have that her animal was doing something like that at home. By the time they got to the ER, it was gone.
Yep.
So just give it a try.
Absolutely. Not going to the ER, but just getting in the car, doing that more.
Okay.
Oh, make him believe you're going to. Or walk in, threaten her. You're going to the vet now.
That's great. Thank you, Louise.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Carla's asking about a Yorkie that has an ALP of 500. So for something like that, Carla, definitely anything fresh, the freshest diet you possibly can, but it's not something that you should be treating with homeopathy by yourself, unless you're a trained homeopath. It's not something you should be treating herbally by yourself. Severe symptoms like that need to be treated by a professional. So you really need to be working with a homeopathic veterinarian and or a good Chinese medicine veterinarian, chiropractor, etc. Now, while that's happening, while you're getting that done, the most important thing is working on her happiness level and really not worrying and having fun with her, exercise, sniffing, all sorts of wonderful things like that. We have speakers all the time at Holistic Actions who talk about that. And everybody, I want you to know that I apologize anytime I cut you off or that I'm very brief with how I answer something that's coming from the chat. But with 36 questions and less than 30 minutes to go, we may not get to everybody. And so I'm trying to give everybody a little information and generalize it for you. So again, and then Jenny, who's one of our longtime super members, has a lot of great information. And so she's posting in the chat answers to some of these, and Dr. Jeff is as well. So if you do want to save the chat, and I'll repeat this, you click on the 3 button. So you open the chat, and you do that often you have to click on the 3 buttons that say more. And then you open the chat, and where you would type the message is where you see 3 more buttons. You click on those and it says save chat. Now, it will only save everything that's already there. So at the very end of the call, save chat, and then you'll get all the other information that is in here as well. And as a reminder for those who don't know how to raise their hand, you go to the 3 dots, and then as Steve has done, you go to reactions, and at reactions, it's got raise hand. So that's where you go to raise your hand. So go ahead, Steve, who knew how to raise his hand.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
I also have this in the chats, but I just thought I'd raise my hand also.
Okay, great.
I have an elderly, getting to be senior cat. He's been raw fed for 7 years. I'm trying to clean up his premix because he seems to react to supplements. He's very sensitive to that. I wanted to get your and Jeff's thoughts on what the absolute essential stuffs are for adding to like a raw mix from like Hair Today, where it's, the meat or muscle, bone, and organs. I know some of these are pretty elaborate and there's a lot of stuff in there, and he's pretty sensitive, and he'll just start detoxing from some of those things by drinking more. And I'm trying to kind of help him out there by giving him something a little less complicated, a little cleaner.
Right. Well, the cleanest you can give would be, and the best for the planet actually, is to not buy premix, to not buy commercial raw food, to not buy anything that's been made by other people, because then you really don't know for sure what's in it, number one. And especially if you have an animal who's sensitive, or you want to do the best you can for the environment and for the animals, is to get your own meat, feed the biggest hunks possible, whether it's raw or slightly cooked, vegetables pureed, and that can come from your leftover. When you're peeling and prepping veggies, you just put them in the food processor along with the cooking water and any leftover cooked vegetables and puree it. And then you've got your vegetables and your meat, and feed a wide variety. So when you're feeding the meats, then and the vegetables and any supplements you choose, then you know what's causing the problem, because you can remove one of them and now, everything got better. So that was the problem. Right. And the only supplement that's key is calcium. So I was talking to somebody recently who was feeding a ground beef, it was feeding a ton of variety of cooked meats, never fed calcium. And that is the one thing that can cause problems. In addition to that, we've had about 10 talks at least at Holistic Actions on supplements, and Veterinarian X, Specialist Y, Trainer Z, each have had a different recommendation for supplements, for key supplements. So I would say, other than calcium, there is no one key supplement.
What about taurine for cats?
Well, if you're feeding meat, you're feeding taurine. If you're feeding raw meat, you're feeding taurine, particularly if you feed heart meat, whether they're freeze-dried hearts or regular hearts.
Yeah,
now, taurine is a very inexpensive supplement. It's very easy to use. So and it has no downsides to feeding that. So I would, so it's fine to feed taurine. But again, if they're on a raw food, I don't think they necessarily need it. The important thing is members of Holistic Actions get my journal, the Healthy Cat Journal, as part of their membership, and Healthy Dog Journal. And if you're not a member, you can go to my website, ChristinaChambreau.com, to get it, or it's on Amazon, I think. And keeping track of what's happening and when and what was going on at that time is how you're able to help decide which supplement is really helping the mess. How are they doing? What's their activity level? That type of thing. And then you change something and you see what comes up next.
One at a time.
Yep. Does that do it, Steve?
That's just one thing though. I don't give him any carbs, other than, really none. He gets pretty much, raw.
There's no one right answer for diet, just like there is for people. Some people thrive on a keto diet. Some thrive as a vegan. And the same thing is true for dogs. On the internet, you will see you have to only do raw meaty bones, never give a carb. You can feed carbs. You can't feed carbs. It's like it's up to you to tune in to see what you think is right to do for your animal, then try it. If it's not working, tweak it to something else, just like you would for a person.
Right. Yeah. Since he's a cat, like a carnivore, I typically don't worry about
that, and that's fine. But there are cats. I always added vegetables to my cat's food mix because there are things in vegetables they're not getting, and they aren't in the wild. They're not running and absorbing microbial stuff. Nothing wrong with doing just meat. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Right.
Please, everybody, keep an open mind. There is no one right way. Okay, some people say, you have to do it because, and the animals aren't doing well. And then you change it and they're doing a little bit better. So it is a matter of following what the animals are doing. Checking those early warning signs of illness, which those are all in the journal. Things like cats vomiting hairball, dogs needing a bath every week, that kind of thing. So at that point, I would just track the symptoms. And if there are none of those, whatever you're doing is working, and don't worry about it.
Right. Well, that was my main thing, is I just didn't want him to become deficient in something. If I stopped I give him Al-Nutrim, which is a mix, pre-mix. If I just stopped that and gave him good, fresh,
should be fine.
And calcium's in the bone, right? Calcium's in the bone.
Pardon? Calcium is critical. Other than calcium, it's up to each animal.
Right. And that's in bone. Right? If you give it.
Yes. If you're feeding bones, then you're fine. You're getting that. Yep.
Perfect.
It's just the only thing that they need. And again, there is no one right answer. That's the key. Okay. Now let me squeeze down here. I really, I brought up the fact of smart meters and all of the EMFs and things like that. There are so much you can do to avoid things like that, but also it's everywhere. And the more you focus on love, energy building, happiness, exercise, mental exercise, finding what your animal loves doing, the more you focus on that, the more balanced they'll be, and the more they'll be able to tolerate when there's a smart meter in the house, unless their energy field is supremely sensitive to it. And I've seen many problems with all of the EMFs in some animals, but not all. So Riley asks about a burner that had TPLO for cruciate, and there's stiffness and arthritis after playing. I would not recommend Adequan specifically right away. I would see what happens as you transition to a fresh raw diet. I would work with postural rehab vets. I would go to, and Dr. Jeff, if you can put Macaulay's in. Laura Macaulay has a ton of PT exercises you can do. She has YouTubes, tons of them, that can help with things like that. And then you may need to be doing some chiropractic. You may need to be working with a homeopathic vet. You may need to use some chondroitin supplements, etc. So if it's just mild, I wouldn't be jumping right away to Adequan. Dr. Jeff, you agree not to go to Adequan unless they're really having trouble?
You're asking a guy that would do a lot of things before moving to any supplements. So right. Yeah, I mean, Adequan is benign usually, but somebody just pointed out a report, and I know, Jenna, you'll appreciate this, was about rapamycin. And when I'm reading the report, it's like, oh, and there were 4 or 5 dogs out of the 20 dogs that, had to be dropped out of the study because of severe side effects. Every drug is going to have a problem with some dog or another. Energy, things, happiness, love, sniffing, nature therapy, you're not going to have any side effects. So yeah, you should be fine with that, man. But
not the first place, not the thing to start with.
There's a lot to do before that. Yeah.
Okay, +1 protein. 10-year-old mini poodle had +1 protein in the urinalysis, and 10 months ago, and 7 months later had a +2 protein. Wouldn't be worrying about Cushing's necessarily. But so Maureen, the most important thing is that you're not focused just on this one issue. You want to unmute yourself, Maureen? You want to be focused on, a mini poodle can easily live into the mid-20s. So you want to be focused on everything Dr. Jeff just said, and I've been saying about the happiness and all that. You want to really be sure you're doing a great fresh food diet. And then Dr. Jeff, what do you want to say about testing? Dr. Jeff is our great diagnostic testing person.
It depends. I mean, you can do a lot of testing. If their protein in the urine and the albumin in the blood is dropping, what else is going on? You're worried about Cushing, so I would imagine that there are elevations in ALT or ALP or other things. It really depends. If you're a member, just post your blood work in the forum and we'll feedback that way. But in general, yeah, do not focus on any single diagnosis or symptom, whether it's external or internal, and blood and albumin in the urine is just one single symptom to look at in a whole bigger picture.
And unfortunately with iPhone, I totally apologize, people who are on iPhones, if when you're posting in the chat, you say my name is, because here, so the Wire Hair Vizsla's partner is just devastated. Number one, I strongly encourage you to have a session with Dama. If you're not a member, you can go to her website and do it directly. If you're a member, you can do it one of your 15-minute calls. We never know. People ask me all the time, what caused my animal to die? What was it I did in the past that caused my animal to die? And we never know, because each animal has a unique energy field, unique susceptibilities and sensitivities, and some of them can have one. So thousands of animals are vaccinated all the time, but it's only a few that die 2 days after they get the vaccine. So you can't ever say what it is that caused something to happen. Maybe the medication for the ear infections didn't cause any problem, and there was a new 5G cell tower that got put in that you didn't even know about, or something else. So there's just, grief is one thing, but don't tie yourself in knots with adding any guilt to it. That's not our animals. Remember what your animals want from you. Your animals want you to be happy. Their purpose is to do their very best for you, and they don't want you to be miserable, sad, grieving, things like that. Jean's asking about what will render mice infertile. I did have a heart traps all winter long, and I would take them to a barn that was nearby. So even in the snow, I would trudge through the snow. And then I felt guilty because I let the mouse out of the have a heart into the hay, and then a cat showed up in the barn. Oh, well, at least the mouse had a chance. Heartworm nosodes, I do not recommend using nosodes on a regular basis. I'm not going to go into details on that, but Dee, that's not something I would normally recommend. And Jean had to leave. And Valerie has to leave. So thank you, Eve, for answering that. Hopefully you answered before she had to leave. And Robin's asking if they should continue rabies and heartworm nosodes. So again, I don't think heartworm nosodes are effective personally, and I don't like the idea of giving homeopathic remedies that are not individualized. A lot of homeopathic veterinarians do recommend that, so I'm okay with it as long as problems aren't happening. I still would blood test twice a year. Rabies, I personally recommend doing the rabies vaccine every 3 years and no other vaccines. But I would stay current on the rabies vaccine because of the problems that you run into legally. That's the only reason I'm recommending that. But legally, you need to stay current. If your dog or cat is not healthy at the time they're due, then you should be able to get an exemption because vaccines are for healthy, to be used in healthy animals. So I would stay current if you can. And there are things you can do, especially, so some people even need to give the other vaccines occasionally. They're traveling to a country and they're bringing their animals, they're immigrating, and they need a vaccine. So if you're in that, as long as you're working to build up the health of your animal, they can tolerate being poisoned every once in a while, because the healthier they are, as we talked about, the better they are able to withstand anything that's going on, whether it's environmental, food, even your stress. So the better off you can get with them, the less they will be affected by it. And there's a flower essence from Jackson Galaxy called Vaccine Detox, which if you give it before and after for a couple of weeks, I have found it tends to minimize the problems, and there's no harm in giving it. Also, just pay attention afterwards carefully for any symptoms that you're seeing. And at that point, I would then treat with probably homeopathy or whatever, Chinese medicine, whatever the symptoms are showing that they need. And Robin's question about vaccines, I wish I had an answer. That's not able to do that. Anybody else? I'm scrolling through, and so good. So if you would raise your hand, if I haven't read your chat, that would be great. And go ahead, iPhone, who has her hand up.
I think that's me. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. This is so amazing. I am taking my kitty out on a harness. We're not going far. She's scared, but I don't know if I was told that the rabies and the distemper are the two vaccines that my, conventional vet said that would be the recommended vaccinations. She's had a rabies once in the past. I think she's past the time where you have to renew again. So do you think we need to get the distemper even though we're not going far and she's just going in the back alley with me?
The distemper vaccine in cats called panleukopenia is immunologic. What? The distemper vaccine is panleukopenia, and it is the best vaccine immunologically for any species in the world. So one dose lasts a lifetime. And so I would not worry about that. The only reason for the rabies is because of the legal consequences of not having it.
So, but you're saying she should have the distemper once? I don't know if she's had the distemper in the past.
How old is she?
She's 3, I think around 3.
Yeah, she's probably, if you want to be super, super, super on the safe side, you could have blood drawn and a titer done to check for her antibody level. And if it should be fine because she's been out, she's been exposed by you coming in and out of the house, even though she hasn't gone out. And your short walks, it will be giving her some natural immunity anyway. So I would say not to worry about it. If you want to be super safe, do the blood titer. And don't worry about when you do it. Just do it at the next time you're getting your annual checkup.
Okay, but you're saying you don't think it's mandatory to do that one?
No.
If we're going on the harness. And my other cat, I'm letting him once in a while go out with a collar and a tag because he freaked out on the harness. He literally almost choked himself and like squirmed out of it. It was horrible, the harness, because he has trauma when he got TNR'd. So he can't be like restricted like that. But he's dying to go on. He cries all day. The catio isn't cutting it for him. Should I get him the distemper? Because I know he'll be going to a couple alleys right behind my house. There are ferals there.
Same answer. Do the titer.
Okay.
Because he was rescued. He's probably
he was out on the streets. Yeah.
He's got a great time. I'm sure if you want to be safe, just for your mind, then do the titer. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, but the rabies, you think just legally, but not if you weren't considering the legalities around it, would you do the rabies?
The legalities of it mean if your stray cat gets bit by another cat and you go to the emergency clinic and they say, oh, this must have been a rabid cat, we're going to kill your cat.
Oh, they'll kill your cat because of that.
It's a big, long discussion, but it can be that bad.
Okay, so you're saying for that reason,
for free on my website, you can read articles about vaccines. And if you're a Holistic Actions member, we have lots of discussions, and you can also post on the forum.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you all very much. Thank you.
And here's the thing, everybody, raise your hand again if you're in the chat and you haven't answered. And thank you all for posting, because we have like one more I can answer. And thank you all for posting answers to people. And if you want to save the chat to find all these wonderful answers, click on the 3 buttons where you would write in the chat and then click Save Chat. I would do it now because we're getting very, very close to the end here. So any final hands that need to go up that you just have to be answered here? Unfortunately, my chat is acting weird. Did you see anything else, Dr. Jeff, that we need to answer?
Nope. I think we gotta go, and we really appreciate all your time. We'll see you next month for another Q&A, and if you're an HA member, we'll see you on Monday for a webinar next Monday, and we'll answer any questions on the chat or on the forum. And again, thank you.
Save your chat. And a quick answer to another question Steve had, which is, what about giving a homeopathic supplement that's for arthritis or for vomiting or for this or for that? I don't recommend it. Those are combination homeopathic medicines. They can be okay in an acute condition, but I wouldn't do them for anything long-term. And if you want to really learn about homeopathy, if you become a Holistic Actions member, I taught an intro and an intermediate course that was live streamed, and those 2 full days of courses, you can learn all you want about homeopathy. And there are also excellent books for general health as well as homeopathy that I'd recommend. Don Hamilton's Homeopathic Care of Cats and Dogs, and Wendy Jensen's Practical Handbook of Veterinary Homeopathy, and 101 Cured Cases. It's homeopathy, what to expect, 101 cured cases. And you guys get to see what is amazingly possible with homeopathy by reading that book. So see you next month.
All right. Thank you all again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.